Everyday English Podcast
by English Talking Today.
Hey everyone, welcome back to English Talking Today. I'm Mary, and I'm so glad you're here with me today. You know, I've been thinking a lot lately about what really makes the difference between people who succeed at learning English and those who give up. And it's not what you might think. It's not about being smart. It's not about having a perfect memory. It's not even about having tons of free time. Today, I want to talk to you about something that I believe is the real secret to success in language learning and, honestly, in life. It's called grit. You might be wondering, what exactly is grit? The word itself sounds a bit tough, doesn't it? Like sand between your teeth or dirt under your fingernails. And in a way, that's kind of perfect because grit is all about being tough in your own way. This concept comes from a researcher named Angela Duckworth who spent years studying successful people. What she found was surprising. The most successful people weren't always the smartest or the most talented. They were the ones who had grit. And here's what she discovered. Grit equals passion plus perseverance. Let me say that again because it's so important. Grit equals passion plus perseverance. It means loving something enough to keep going, even when it gets really, really hard. Think about it this way. Have you ever started learning English full of excitement? Maybe you bought new notebooks, downloaded apps, made big plans. But then after a few weeks or months, life got busy. You got tired. You made mistakes and felt embarrassed. And slowly, you stopped. If you're nodding right now, trust me, you're not alone. I've been there too with different things in my life. But here's the thing that grit teaches us. That moment when you want to quit is actually the most important moment. That's when grit kicks in. Let me tell you about my friend Carlos from Brazil. When Carlos started learning English, he was terrible. I mean really terrible. He would mix up words, forget basic grammar, and sometimes people couldn't understand him at all. But Carlos had this quality. Every single day, no matter what, he would practice English for at least 10 minutes. Some days he was tired from work. Some days he felt stupid because he kept making the same mistakes. But he never stopped. Not for one day. Fast forward 3 years, and Carlos now works for an international company where he speaks English every single day. When I asked him how he did it, he said something I'll never forget. He said, "Mary, I wasn't trying to be perfect. I was just trying to be consistent." And that's the first big point I want to make today. Talent isn't enough. In fact, I go even further and say that talent can actually be a trap. You see, when something comes easy to you, you might not develop the habit of working hard. But when something is difficult, and you keep working at it anyway, you're building something much more valuable than talent. You're building grit. There was this study that Duckworth talks about where researchers looked at spelling bee champions. These are kids who can spell incredibly difficult words that most adults have never even heard of. The researchers wanted to know what made these champions different. Was it intelligence? Was it natural ability? What they found was fascinating. The champions weren't necessarily smarter than the other competitors. But they had practiced more, much more. And here's the interesting part. The champions didn't practice in a fun, easy way. They practiced in the hardest way possible, forcing themselves to spell words they got wrong over and over again. They chose difficulty. They chose the struggle. And that's what made them champions. Now, let me connect this to your English learning. Imagine 2 students. Student A is naturally good at languages. She can remember words easily and has a good accent. But she only studies when she feels like it. Maybe twice a week if she's not too busy. Student B struggles more. She has to write words down many times to remember them. Her pronunciation takes more work. But Student B practices every single day, even if it's just for 15 minutes. She never skips a day. Who do you think will speak better English in 1 year? In 5 years? I can tell you from experience, it's student B. Every single time, it's student fee. This brings me to my second point, and I really want you to hear this because I think it might change how you approach learning. Consistency matters more than speed. Let me say that in a different way. Doing a little bit every day is better than doing a lot once in a while. I know in our modern world, we want everything fast. Fast food, fast internet, fast results. But language learning doesn't work that way. Your brain needs repetition over time. It needs that daily exposure, even if it's small. Think about it like watering a plant. If you dump a huge bucket of water on a plant once a month, what happens? The plant drowns or the water just runs off, and then the plant dries out before the next watering. But if you give that plant a little bit of water every single day, it grows healthy and strong. Your English is exactly the same. 10 minutes every single day is better than 2 hours once a week. I promise you this is true. I had a student once. Her name was Yuki from Japan, and she told me she was too busy to study English. She worked long hours and had a family. So I challenged her. I said, Yuki, can you find 10 minutes every day? Just 10 minutes. She thought about it and said yes. So we made a plan. Every morning while drinking her coffee, she would listen to an English podcast for 10 minutes. That's all. Nothing fancy. Just 10 minutes with her coffee. Do you know what happened? After 6 months, her listening comprehension had improved dramatically. After a year, she started speaking more confidently because all that input had built up in her brain. She didn't do anything dramatic. She didn't spend thousands on courses. She just showed up every single day for 10 minutes. That's grit. That's consistency. Now, here's something I really need to talk about because I think it stops so many people from developing grit. We need to talk about failure. I know, nobody likes to fail. Failure feels terrible. It's embarrassing. It makes you want to give up. But here's what I've learned, and here's what the research on grit shows. Failure is not the opposite of success. Failure is part of success. Let me say that again. Failure is not the opposite of success. Failure is part of success. When you make a mistake in English, something amazing is happening in your brain. Scientists can actually see this. Your brain is forming new connections. It's learning. It's growing. But this only happens if you keep going after the mistake. If you make a mistake and give up, your brain stops right there. But if you make a mistake and try again, your brain says, oh, this is important. We need to remember this. And it gets stronger. Think about babies learning to walk. They fall down hundreds of times. Hundreds. Can you imagine if a baby fell down once and thought, well, I guess I'm just not a walking person? That would be ridiculous, right? But that's exactly what we do as adults with language learning. We make a few mistakes and we think, I'm just not good at English. But here's the truth. Every person who speaks English well has made thousands of mistakes. Thousands. The difference is they kept going. Let me tell you about a moment in my own life. Years ago, I was learning to play guitar. I wanted it so badly, but I was terrible. My fingers hurt. The chords sounded awful. I couldn't switch between chords fast enough. After about 2 months, I quit. I told myself I just wasn't musical. But you know what? That was a lie I told myself. The truth was I didn't have enough grit. I let the difficulty stop me. Now, I don't tell you this to feel bad about myself. I tell you this because it taught me something important. Not having grit in one area doesn't mean you can't develop it in another area. And I have developed it in my English teaching and learning. Every time a lesson doesn't go well, every time I try a new teaching method and it flops, I don't quit. I learn and try again. That's grit. So my third point is this. Failure is part of learning. Embrace it. Expect it. When you make a mistake in English, I want you to think, good. My brain is growing right now. Because it really is. The students who make the most progress are not the ones who never make mistakes. They're the ones who make mistakes and keep talking anyway. Now, let's talk about passion for a minute, because I think there's a big misunderstanding about passion. A lot of people think passion is something you either have or you don't have. They think you need to feel excited and motivated every single day. But that's not how passion works, especially when it comes to learning something challenging like a new language. Here's the truth. Passion grows slowly. You don't need to wake up every morning jumping out of bed excited to study English grammar. That's not realistic, and it's not necessary. What Duckworth found in her research is that passion is something you cultivate over time. It's something that develops as you keep doing something, as you get better at it, as you start to see meaning in it. Think about it. Did you love English on the first day you learned it? Probably not. Maybe you felt nervous or confused. But maybe there was a moment, a small moment, when someone understood you. Or when you understood a song lyric. Or when you read something that made you laugh. Those small moments, they build up. They create passion. I'll give you an example. There's a man I know, his name is Ahmed from Egypt, and he started learning English because he needed it for work. That was it. No passion, just necessity. He found it boring and difficult. But he made himself study anyway because he had to. Then one day, about 6 months in, he was watching a movie with English subtitles. And suddenly, he realized he understood a joke before reading the subtitle. It was a small thing, but it made him smile. He felt proud. From that moment, something shifted. He started looking for more movies. He got curious about English comedy. His passion grew from that one small success. Now, 3 years later, he loves English. He reads books in English for fun. But it didn't start with passion. It started with persistence, and passion came later. So my fourth point is, passion grows slowly. Don't wait to feel passionate before you start. Start, and let the passion develop as you go. Some days you'll feel motivated. Some days you won't. That's normal. Grit means you keep going on both kinds of days. But here's something that really helps with motivation, and this is my fifth point. Purpose gives energy. This is huge. When you know what you're learning English, really know it deep down, it becomes so much easier to keep going. Your purpose is like fuel. It keeps you moving forward when things get tough. So let me ask you, why are you learning English? And I mean really specifically why? Not just it's useful or it's important, but what do you want to do with it? Do you want to get a better job? Do you want to travel and connect with people from different countries? Do you want to help your children with their homework? Do you want to read books that haven't been translated into your language? Do you want to watch movies without subtitles? Do you want to make international friends? Whatever your reason is, make it specific and real in your mind. I had a student named Maria from Colombia, and she was struggling to stay motivated. So I asked her why she was learning English. She said, for work. Okay, but that's pretty vague. So I pushed her. What specifically about work? She thought about it, and then she told me something beautiful. She said her dream was to work for a non-profit organization that helps children in different countries. But most of these organizations require English. She wanted to help kids on a global level, but English was the bridge she needed to cross. Once she got clear on that purpose, everything changed. When she was tired, she'd remind herself of those kids she wanted to help. When grammar was frustrating, she'd think about the future conversations she'd have with colleagues from around the world, all working toward the same goal. Her purpose gave her energy. So I want you to take a moment, maybe after this podcast, and write down your purpose. Be specific. Make it real. Make it emotional. Because on the hard days, and there will be hard days, your purpose will pull you forward. Now let's talk about how you actually practice, because this matters a lot. My sixth point is practice with focus. There's a difference between just studying and studying with intention. You can't just passively read English words and expect to improve much. You need to engage with the language. You need to use it, speak it, repeat it, make mistakes with it. This is what researchers call deliberate practice. It means practicing the things that are hard for you, not just the things you're already good at. If speaking is hard, you need to speak, even if it's just to yourself. If listening is hard, you need to listen actively, maybe pausing and repeating what you hear. If writing is hard, you need to write, even if it's just a few sentences in a journal every day. Here's a practical example. Let's say you learn the word accomplish. Don't just read it and move on. Say it out loud 5 times. Make a sentence with it. I want to accomplish my English goals. Say that sentence out loud. Then make another sentence. Yesterday, I accomplished my study plan. Write both sentences down. Then the next day, try to use that word again. This is focused practice. You're not just collecting words in your head. You're making them part of you. I compare it to cooking. You can read 100 recipes, but if you never actually cook, you'll never really learn. You have to get in the kitchen, make a mess, maybe burn something, adjust the seasoning, try again. Language is the same. You have to use it, not just study it. My 7th and final point is about hope, but maybe not the way you think about hope. In the context of grit, hope is not just a feeling. Hope is action. Hope is believing that you can improve and then trying again after you fail. It's not blind optimism. It's realistic confidence that effort will lead to growth. Here's what hopeful people do differently. When they fail, they don't think, I'm bad at this. They think, I haven't figured this out yet. Do you see the difference? That little word, yet, is everything. I can't speak English fluently versus I can't speak English fluently yet. One closes the door. The other keeps it open. And hopeful people, people with grit, they see effort as the path to mastery. They know that the struggle is not a sign they should quit. The struggle is a sign they're on the right path. Easy things don't make you grow. Challenge makes you grow. So when you're struggling with English pronunciation, when you can't remember vocabulary, when grammar makes your head hurt, I want you to remember this. The struggle means you're growing. Your brain is literally changing and getting stronger. This is not a time to give up. This is a time to keep going. The big message I want to leave you with today is this. Success in learning English, success in anything really, comes from keeping going over a long time. It doesn't come from being the fastest learner or the smartest person in the class. It comes from showing up, day after day, week after week, month after month. You can build grit like a muscle through small daily actions. Every day you practice, even just a little, you're building that muscle. And here's the beautiful thing. Once you develop grit in one area of your life, it spreads to other areas. When you prove to yourself that you can stick with English learning even when it's hard, you start to believe you can stick with other hard things too. You become a person who doesn't give up. You become a person who finishes what they start. And that changes everything. Remember, the key is to never quit. No, I want to be clear about something. Never quitting doesn't mean you never rest. Rest is important. Some days you might only do 5 minutes instead of 30. That's okay. Some weeks might be harder than others. That's life. But rest is different from quitting. Rest means you come back. Quitting means you don't. So if you miss a day of practice, don't beat yourself up and don't use it as an excuse to miss another day. Just come back the next day. If you have a bad week, come back the next week. The people who succeed at learning English are not the people who never struggle. They're the people who struggle and come back anyway. That's grit. That's what will make you successful. Before we wrap up today, I really want to encourage you to subscribe to English Talking Today if you haven't already. Seriously, hit that subscribe button right now, because here's why it matters. Learning English is a long journey, and you need support along the way. You need regular reminders about what's possible. You need encouragement on the hard days. And that's exactly what we do here. Every single episode is designed to help you not just learn English, but develop the mindset you need to keep going. We're building a community of people with grit, people who don't give up on their dreams. And I want you to be part of that community. So subscribe to English Talking Today. Turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. And join us in this journey. I promise you won't regret it. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. I hope this conversation about grit has inspired you or given you something to think about. Remember, you don't need to be naturally talented. You don't need to be the smartest. You just need to keep going. Build your grit one day at a time, and I promise you, your English will improve. I believe in you. If you think this video helpful, please share this video to your friends and subscribe to our channel on English Talking Today. Now go practice, and I'll see you in the next episode of English Talking Today.